deficit, while others in the GOP want to see Medicaid protected from proposed cuts. Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs, he's firmly on the president's side.
I think that the groups need to get together and talk it out, because I think President Trump made some very valid points. What we talked about is that there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicaid that needs to be removed, and that's where we're going to aim.
The New York Times reports that the president warned his fellow Republicans that he sees the bill as a test of loyalty and that any holdouts, quote, wouldn't be a Republican much longer. A curious exchange today involving a congressional Democrat from New Hampshire who asked the head of Homeland Security to define habeas corpus, which allows people to challenge their detention by the government.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to.
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President Lincoln used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the Live Free or Die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
It has never
Let us be clear, though, that this president...
It has never been done without approval of Congress. Even Abraham Lincoln got retroactive approval from Congress.
Some in the Trump administration have proposed the idea of suspending habeas corpus to expel immigrants from the country. Another Democrat wants to challenge Republican Congressman David Schweikert. Businessman Rick McCartney has joined the race in Congressional District 1. McCartney is the fourth Democrat looking to unseat Schweikert in the district, which includes parts of Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. And one more headline, actor and comedian George Wendt has died. Wendt was best known for playing Norm Peterson in the hit TV show Cheers. Wendt earned 6 consecutive Emmy nominations for his role as Norm and appeared on every episode of the sitcom during its 11-year run, which began in 1982. George Wendt, Norm, dead at the age of 76. Maricopa County supervisors are working on a new budget that will focus on public safety and could include a tax cut, at least a property tax cut. Joining us now is Thomas Galvin, chairman of the Board of Supervisors. Good to see you again. Welcome back.
Ted. Great to be here.
All right, the FY26 budget, where are we at here?
Well, we're continuing our great record of fiscal responsibility at Maricopa County. As the 4th largest county in the country, we have a record where we have cut overall tax rates for the last 5 years in a row, and I'm really proud of the fact that a board with 3 new members, we've done it yet again in our vote yesterday. But what we're doing is also providing good services. We have mandated responsibilities with the state, but we're increasing investment in public safety. But overall, once again, we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars.
Infrastructure also, the infrastructure needs funding. Is it there in this budget?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have different lines of business that we're responsible for at Maricopa County. That includes roads. We have our transportation department known as MCDOT. But we also have to hand out birth certificates and death certificates. So we handle everything from birth to the end of life and everything in between. And all of those things that we have to do that we're responsible for, we're making sure that they get proper funding.
Capital project investments, where's the FY26 budget stand?
So we are planning for the future. We're not just going to stand pat and just be complacent about what we're doing. So we are being aggressive and we're being proactive. One of the biggest capital projects that I'm really proud of that we're going to be doing is a brand new elections facility. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility. Our groundbreaking ceremony is actually tomorrow, and then we're going to open up in 2027. And the goal is to be open by the 2028 presidential election. As you know, the eyes of the world have been on Maricopa County the last few cycles, especially with presidential elections. This will allow us to count votes faster and to get things more speedy, but also to do it the right way and safe and transparently.
Well, I got to stop you right there. Has it been done the wrong way?
No, it hasn't been done the wrong way, but we have a small, outdated facility. And this is a county now of 4.5 million people. This building has been there for decades. And that building, we've been using it when the population was a lot smaller. So as the county grows, we need to grow with it. And this is why we definitely need a new elections facility.
To that end, state of the art and an improvement over what has been, how does it change how ballots are processed and tabulated?
Well, frankly, just more room, right? And also we have to use different technologies these days. We have these tabulators that we use downtown. The machinery has changed over the years. And also we need to make sure that we're transparent. We're going to have video feeds so people can always observe what's going on. Right now, the building is just too cramped. And if we were designing an election system today, we would not be using the building that we're using now.
Do you think this new center will appease election deniers?
Well, you're never going to appease the people that are grifting. These are people that just want to lie for money to say that elections are not being run well. But there's another segment of people here in Maricopa County, the vast bulk of folks. These are folks that I talk to every single day, Republican, Democrat, Independent. They want good elections and they want it done in a great way. And frankly, we need a facility that exceeds the value of what Maricopa County is. And when we're the 4th largest county and actually the 3rd largest voting jurisdiction, people deserve the best.
Where do we stand on this? This doesn't necessarily have to do with the budget here, although who knows, maybe it will. The Diamondbacks Stadium, the city of Phoenix, the county, is everyone in the same book, if not the same page?
We're not there yet. So I just want your viewers to know that Maricopa County does not own Chase Field. It's owned by a special taxing district called the Maricopa County Stadium Taxing District, which was created by the state legislature. We're not able to charge rent to the D-backs. We're not able to take revenue from the stadium and put it into the county. We're a shell, but it's represented by the 5 supervisors. But we're working with the governor's office, we're working with the mayor of Phoenix and the city of Phoenix, who have the most objections to the current legislation. But we want the D-backs to stay, and we think there's a path.
The current legislation is tax recapture, basically what's sold in and around with Diamondbacks, this sort of thing. I think the city of Phoenix, their concern is it's not necessarily confined to that area of the ballpark, and it includes other areas which would take tax revenue out of the general fund. How does that differ from what the county's looking at?
Right. Well, the D-backs initially sold the legislation as tax recapture, saying that if you buy a ticket and a hot dog and a T-shirt at the stadium, the sales tax generated would be plowed back into repairing the building. If you don't watch baseball, you don't go to Chase Field, you don't have to worry about it. Unfortunately, there was an amendment to the bill that was going to scoop out general fund money, even from the county, which prompted us to be opposed to the bill. We've gotten assurances from the governor's office that that would be taken out, which will ameliorate the concerns that we have, but there are larger questions that the city of Phoenix has that I think the D-backs and the legislature are going to have to work together with them to answer.
Is there a better way to do this? And I know you like the way what the Cardinals have done with the Sports Authority out there. Is there a way just to get a Sports Authority involved and just tell everyone else that's the boss?
Yeah, so I think there is a better way, and I wrote about it in my op-ed in the Arizona Republic 2 weeks ago, and I asked people to go look it up. We cannot keep doing these one-offs on stadiums. We saw it happen last year with the Coyotes, where they're casting about looking for locations. They went from Tempe to State Land. We now have this issue with Chase Field in downtown Phoenix. I believe the Suns are going to need a new arena in the next few years. Their arena right now is just way too small. We need one model that would fit all in a public-private partnership that everyone can understand. This is the model for a plug and play, because it's not just sports anymore, it's entertainment. The D-backs themselves only play 80 nights out of the year. What are you going to do the other 270 nights? You have concerts, you have football games, downtown arenas have ice capades. Got to figure it all out.
An overriding authority, what kind of reaction are you hearing from the sports teams?
Very good reaction. Everyone has been very pleased, and what I'm proud of is that, in fact, I'm trying to move the ball, not to use a sports metaphor, so to speak, but trying to say we have to be innovative, we have to be creative. Don't just do what we were doing back in the 1990s. Let's plan for the future.
Before you go, are you moving the puck? I mean, what is NHL just a distant memory now here?
No, I'm working to bring back hockey, NHL hockey back to the Valley. I'm working with local political, business, and sports leaders. I think that's important from an economic development standpoint. And to get back to the Maricopa County budget, we have such a great environment here for doing business. I think we should have another team here.
All right, Thomas Galvin, again, Chair, Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. Always a pleasure. Good to have you.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate it.
Over thousands of years, humans and horses have forged a special bond and a unique partnership.
When you get that relationship with a horse, sky is the limit of what you can do.
From the frigid Arctic to the hottest desert, discover what makes horses and humans so perfect for each other.
Without them, we wouldn't be here.
Wednesday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
For thousands of years, humans have looked to the night sky in awe. Ancient sailors used the stars to navigate the seas, philosophers would reflect upon them in thought, and astronomers studied them to learn more about our own planet. Today we're going to visit some of the best spots in Arizona to reconnect with the night, and there's no better way to enjoy the night than on the trail under a full moon.
Thursday night at 7:30 on Arizona PBS.
mRNA vaccines are credited with saving lives during the COVID pandemic, and there's an effort to further develop mRNA to fight other viruses and even cancer cells. But the vaccines have been criticized by Health and Human Services Secretary, that is, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So what is the future of mRNA, we ask? Dr. David Ingethaler, Executive Director at ASU's Health Observatory. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you, Ted.
Before we get too far down the road on mRNA, what is mRNA and why is it different than vaccines of the past?
Well, mRNA is something that our body creates anyways. All living things create mRNA, which is that it essentially is transcribing a chunk of your genomic material to say, this is the protein we need to make. These are the building blocks we need to make for our cells or for anything that's living. So we make mRNA, little transcripts of genomic material all the time. We can use that to actually make vaccines against foreign invaders or against bad things in our bodies, like cancer.
I was going to say, have we gotten to the point where mRNA, it sounds like you're at the cusp, maybe even involved with cancer cells?
Yeah, it's really exciting. We can talk a little bit about, how the vaccine was used during the pandemic and all of that. It was really broad scale. But with the idea that we want precision medicine, precision health, that's what mRNA vaccines do. We can be very precise about people's cancer. We can actually sequence the cancer and make the vaccine very targeted for that person and their cancer specifically.
And vaccines heretofore have been what? Basically live viruses, and it's kind of a messy process, isn't it?
Yeah, I think when we think about vaccines, they're really 20th century and earlier technology where we're using either an attenuated live virus or a killed virus or just proteins from a virus or a bacteria, depends on what the vaccine is. And then you inject that and the body's immune system responds to that. So then if you actually get infected with the bad organism, your immune system can respond. Now with mRNA vaccine, we don't need to inject all that stuff. We can actually just give that little code that your body can take that and make proteins from. And then those proteins are what your antibodies respond to, what your T cells in your immune system actually responds to.
Is the lack of understanding of what you just said among the reasons why there are still folks up to it, including RFK Jr., who just think that this is a foreign thing that doesn't belong in the body?
Yeah, it is kind of hard to understand why people at higher levels aren't fully understanding this, because it's been really well described now for the past several years, especially during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's a natural biological process. It's not invading your DNA, it's not changing your genome or anything like that. It's essentially just shortcutting some of the steps of what your overall immune response is to a foreign invader so that you're ready to deal with it when you actually do see it or when you get that cancer.
And it was effective. I mean, people forget, this was a very effective way to fight the pandemic.
It was pretty amazing. It allowed just this ability, it allowed us to come out really quickly, as you knew, Operation Warp Speed.
Yes.
Unbelievable. We wouldn't even think Hollywood could come up with such a crazy timeline as what happened. And it was very effective, especially during the early stages when the virus hadn't spread everywhere already and everybody had some level of immunity. Saved a lot of lives, especially in those highest at risk, those especially our elderly. So really did make an impact.
And as far as the mRNA is concerned, and you mentioned how quickly it was developed, is that among the positives, the benefits of I mean, again, you don't have to go through the testing and the thing with the live virus and the inactive. This sounds like it can be activated pretty quickly.
It definitely can be activated quickly. And what's really exciting think about cancer vaccines and cancer treatments with mRNA is it's very targeted because it's very programmable against your exact cancer or your exact tumor. As opposed to what we did during the pandemic, we gave it to everybody. And when you do that, you're gonna see things you weren't expecting, right? And we did have some bad outcomes and it wasn't perfect across the board. But when we're very targeted, all the initial cancer trials are looking very interesting.
Well, and also you mentioned the broad way it was applied for the pandemic. That could still be used if another pandemic rolls around. Broad is better than nothing.
Oh, 100%. And we've learned so much, obviously, from the rollout. Maybe we can be more targeted for the people that are most affected by whatever the next thing is, as well as we can quickly understand what might be the bad effects.
RFK Jr. said there was not enough long-term testing and that the COVID shots were hastily approved without proper vetting. Is he correct there? Does he have a point? What do you think?
I think that it probably didn't follow the normal vetting and the normal number of trials, but we were in an emergency. We were in a pandemic. We didn't know how bad it would be. Remember the earliest versions of this virus, we were seeing a lot of deaths. And so the faster we could put something out with appropriate testing certainly was a good thing. But we also needed to watch very closely. And of course, there's a lot of things around policy and mandates. That's different than the actual technology itself. So let's make best use of this great scientific advancement.
One more point here, because I have to mention him because he is basically the country's health director. He said that they were the deadliest vaccine ever made. How do you get past that, especially with research on stuff like cancer and other viruses that's going on?
Yeah, unfortunately, if we're going to talk about really how this was during the pandemic, we have to say everything was tainted with politics. And we really weren't getting good scientific understanding. And so this is why you have statements like that. I think we got to kind of step back and look at actually what did we learn from this and how was it used? Maybe in some cases it wasn't the best, but the old vaccines, if we would have used some of the old vaccines or the non-mRNA vaccines on everybody, we would have so many worse outcomes. So thankfully, we had less, but there's still things that we can learn and improve.
And again, last point here, didn't mean to interrupt you, but the last point, cancer, HIV, Zika virus, all these things, it is possible to get an MR. First, is it possible? And secondly, how soon?
It really does seem that using this technology, we can really program it to respond to almost any invader and almost any cancer. So there are dozens of trials right now for cancer. There are many other trials for other pathogens as well. So all this is happening during a non-emergency, and all the proper testing and vetting is happening.
Sounds like you're pretty optimistic.
I'm very optimistic.
Dr. David Engelfaller, again, good stuff, good information, encouraging information. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Ted.
When you support Arizona PBS, you plant a seed. Seeds that provide educational outreach in our community. Seeds that put our digital resources to work. Seeds that foster the trusted news coverage you expect from PBS. And seeds that continue the amazing PBS programs you love. But our garden can't keep growing without your support. Visit our website to see all the ways you can help our garden grow. Plant a seed with Arizona PBS today.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump makes a pitch to House Republicans to pass his sweeping tax and spending cuts bill. That's at 6 on Arizona PBS.
A new PBS Frontline documentary looks at the issues Alaska natives are facing because of climate change. The film is titled Alaska's Vanishing Native Villages. The producer, writer, and director of the film is with us. We welcome Patty Talahungva. Welcome back to Arizona Horizon. And also joining us, Lauren Mucciolo, who also produced the documentary. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you. Patty, we'll start with you. The focus, obviously, is of folks living up there and what the climate is doing to them. What is the climate doing to them?
Well, it's been happening for a long time, and between the rising sea levels and the warming of the earth, so the thawing of the permafrost is creating a perfect storm, if you will.
Yeah.
Because literally, with the also warming temperatures, the ice that forms along the coast is not coming, it's not forming every year. And that is the breaker for the waves that come in. And so when the waves come in, it's eating away the coastline. And then as the permafrost thaws, it destabilizes the ground for all of the infrastructure, houses, buildings, any kind of roads they have. So it's wreaking havoc on the villages.
And how do you tell this story in order for us who weren't, I'm going to ask about what it was like to be up there, but for those of us who weren't there, how do you tell the story to get it across just how much of an impact this is making?
Well, I mean, that wasn't very difficult. I mean, the truth is that there were quite a number of storms that we could have referenced to be able to help tell this story, and a lot of archival material that documents all the damage those storms have done. And also there were a lot of people, I think, who feel very frustrated that there isn't enough progress being made. There aren't enough opportunities to get funding and support and technical expertise to be able to help these villages combat the damages of climate change.
I was going to ask about that. What are some of the bureaucratic challenges?
The bureaucratic challenges are many. I mean, one of the biggest challenges has been that so much of the funding that is available, so much of the support that is available is siloed across so many different federal programs across the federal government. And so you've got to understand how to sort of navigate that system. And as well, a lot of it is grant-driven and competitive grants. So you're applying for grants that there may be one sort of small element that wasn't included in the grant application, and suddenly you're disqualified and you can't apply again for another year or two.
Wow. And you mentioned navigating the process. Patty, how did you navigate the area up there? It is so remote. Some of these areas look really remote.
Yes.
What'd you go through? What was it like?
Well, I like to give this example. If we could have taken a direct flight from Anchorage to Chivak, the flight would have been 2 hours. But there are no direct flights, so you have to fly into Bethel and then Bethel into Chivak. It took us 2 days.
Oh.
So imagine, getting stuck in Bethel. I mean stuck in a bad way, but the weather prevented us from flying into Chivak. So, and we were also told that because we traveled in the winter, to be prepared to be stranded there because of a blizzard or something. If there's no visibility, the planes won't fly, the pilots won't go up. So we had to take all of our own food, our water, our sleeping bags, all of our winter gear that we wore, and pretty much be self-contained. And we're watching some of the footage.
Yes, yes.
There are no cars, so getting around on snow machines in the wintertime, that was a challenge. And just, even though we had heat in our unit, waking up in the morning and seeing your breath, as you climb out of your sleeping bag. I mean, it was pretty challenging, but it was beautiful. And the people were wonderful. And you can't go to these villages because they have no restaurants, many of them, they don't have hotels. So you have to talk with the tribal government or the city government to see if they have room in their apartment to rent. And then you're at their mercy because they're the ones providing transportation as well.
Yeah. And when you talk to the folks up there, government officials, residents, villagers, whatever, I mean, what are they thinking? Are they thinking relocation? Are they thinking our home is gone?
They're starting to have those conversations now. And what I found so amazing is that even talking to the teenagers, even talking to the young people, they were able to talk about what they have seen in their young lifetimes, the changes that they have seen. And relocation is very much top of mind because I think there's a lot of recognition that some of these places, I think long ago, a lot of these villages were built on the ocean because or on rivers, which would allow you to be able to access fish and the subsistence foods that culturally these communities depend upon. But that also puts them in a very vulnerable position now.
Yeah, and I imagine this kind of rings true a little bit for you, doesn't it, with your Hopi background and everything?
Yes, and the fact that for the people in Hooper Bay, at least the people they were originally from the village of Bymute, they were forced to move to Hooper Bay because the government built a school.
We've had you on about schools
We've talked about boarding schools, government-run boarding schools for Native people, and now they're being forced to leave Hooper Bay because of climate change. And so what is that going to look like in 10 and 20 years? And as Lauren said, the students were amazing. Teenagers, and they're talking about how they prefer to go out and subsistence harvest from the ocean as opposed to going into the grocery store because those foods are foreign to them. And they told me, in the film we talk about, the kids tell us that that food is junk, and they don't like junk.
Yeah.
You know, they have a subsistence way of life, a diet that's tied to their culture, and that's what they want to hold on to and keep.
All right. Yeah, Alaska's Vanishing Native Villages. Again, this is a documentary for Frontline. Congratulations to you both. It sounds like it was
Thank
quite
you.
the effort, and you got quite the result. It's really fascinating stuff and great work, and good to have you here sharing your stories. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you.
And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.